and welcome back to Sports Khabri. In today's podcast, we will be speaking with popular Bollywood actress and the president of People's Arm Wrestling Federation of India, Preeti Jhangiani. Let's find out from Preeti how did she get into the world of sports and how her journey has been so far like. Hi Preeti, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time.
Hi Akshata, thank you for having me on Sports Kabri.
Preeti, I'll start with the most basic question first. How did you get into the world of sports?
So I don't know. I cannot claim to be a great watcher of sport or I was very interested in sport. And of course, like anybody else, I played sport in school. I competed in swimming. In fact, we had baseball in our school. But I surely cannot be claim to be a sport fan. But when I married Parveen, he is a complete sports fanatic. So, especially MMA, boxing, things like that. So, I suppose along with him, I started watching a lot of sport as well. And the idea of Panja was certainly not mine. The idea of Panja arm wrestling was Parveen's. And to start an arm wrestling league. Why, although we already have the MMA India show, which is now India's premier MMA website, and we are directly affiliated with the UFC as well. So I suppose everyone thought that the natural progression, if we get into sport promotion, would be MMA. But we felt that we wanted to get into a sport where there are not that many people right now, and a sport by which us coming in would make a difference. And we felt arm wrestling was that sport because we saw a couple of arm wrestling matches, and the pool of players in India is huge, and it's being played at an amateur level in India since more than 30, 40 years. And it's in every state of India. There are arm wrestlers in every state of India. And in fact, just before we came in around 2017-18, when we started working on the idea of an arm wrestling league, that was the time when the arm wrestlers were all leaving the sport. They were all feeling that there's no future in this sport. But when we launched the Pro Panja League in 2020, from then till now, arm wrestling has taken a huge resurgence. It's like you put on Google or you put on YouTube and you can't miss our videos. So, it's there all over. Our social media has boomed more than 250 million views across our social media in just 6 months, in the last 6 months. Every video is averaging 5 million views. Our athletes are, one of our athletes has 8 lakh followers on YouTube. So, their lives are changing. They're getting more jobs. Social media is changing. Everything is changing.
Preeti, I called up a friend who also works in the combat sports industry a couple of days back, and I was asking him about the work that you guys have been doing in the arm wrestling, and he said that Preeti and Parveen have brought back arm wrestling in the map of India. The sport was starting to get extinct. A lot of people who were involved in the sport were going away from it, and a lot of credit has to be given to both of you for doing the kind of work that you have over the years. A lot of people often overlook the struggles that go behind into this. You're building a federation, you're building a sport that does not really have that kind of a viewership, which is a challenge in itself to create that kind of awareness, to create that kind of demand for the sport. As I said, that the building a federation also is a challenge in itself, especially knowing how things work in our country. And of course, sports other than cricket still tend to struggle in this country. So, can you talk to us about the journey that you have been through so far and talk to us about some of the struggles?
The struggles have been immense. So, like you said, there was a federation in place, and although I don't want to speak about anybody else or any other federation, we now have our own federation called PAFI, People's Arm Wrestling Federation India. And the reason of getting into the federation was to be able to promote the sport the way we want to promote it, the way and to help the athlete be free of the bonds that they feel. We didn't want them to feel that the federation is controlling them, or this sport that we have, Pro Panja League that we have started and federation that we started is for the athletes. We understand completely that unless the athletes are comfortable and unless the athletes are stars, the sport will not progress. The audience does not want to see me and Praveen, they want to see the athletes. The whole idea is to create an ecosystem where we can promote the athletes and the sport without any restrictions or unnecessary restrictions from anywhere else. And that is the whole idea of creating this whole ecosystem. In fact, PAFI is already now affiliated with the AAF, the Asian Arm Wrestling Federation, and we're already provisional members of the WOF, which is the World Arm Wrestling Federation, and we will be permanent members in by the end of the by September. So our this is a very exciting time for all of us as well. So you're asking about the struggles. I mean, I don't know where to start the journey from, because from where we started, we had our inaugural tournament at the Tyagaraja Stadium where we had Kiran Rijiju, who was the then sports minister, and Vijender Singh launch it. And it was launched in a huge way, and there was already so much excitement amongst the arm wrestlers. But 3 weeks later, COVID hit, and in between the two COVID lockdowns, we still managed to do yet another event at the Gateway of India with the Gateway of India as the backdrop. And COVID hit again. So, we've been having to restart many times because of COVID. And then again, we had to start our own federation as well, of which now I am the president. So I basically handle the whole federation side of it, and Parveen handles the Pro Panja League side. But unfortunately, it's all intertwined. It's all the same. It's all the same sport, and our main objective is to promote the athletes and to promote the sport. And like you said, everyone just wants to watch cricket, but I want to disagree a little bit with you here, because I see a new emergence of so many sports, and people are interested. I just Our social media views can give you that idea that people want to watch the sport. If you present it to them in the correct and the entertaining way, and the idea is just to bring them to the screen. And I think our first season on Sony Sports will very much prove that. We are very confident of the audience we will receive for it. And new sports are coming up. People do want to watch new and exciting stuff, and I think watching a Punjab match live is very exciting. You get on either side. You either want this guy to win or you want this guy to win. And we've seen after 5 bouts, like the audience stands up on their chairs and starts screaming the athlete's name. And these are athletes they didn't know of. And I'm telling you this from a real example from our show which was at the Great Way of India. It had only VIPs. We didn't have any ticket selling or anything. So we had only invited guests. And these were like more or less the higher class who you would think wouldn't watch Punjab. But they do. They did. They stood on their chairs and they chanted the players' names. So, although we felt it was only a tier 2, tier 3 sport, that's not true even. So, it's a widespread all over India sport. We have athletes from all over India. So, we are very confident of the viewership. It's been a long journey and very hard, faced with a lot of obstacles, especially since we have the federation as well now. But I think we are reaching fruition now with our first season.
And now you guys have a broadcast deal with Sony, which is a massive thing and also gives scope to other sports that are trying to, capitalize on the space.
Again, with Sony as well, it wasn't that easy to crack the deal, because even Sony is very conscious about the content that they show and quality of the content that they show as well. So we need, even they had to be convinced about, and a lot of people don't even think that Panja is a sport. Of course, they didn't need to be convinced about that, because they'd already, in fact, a lot of people were already trying to do a Panja League or do arm wrestling on a professional level. In fact, there have been many conversations, which I don't want to talk about because it's not my place to do so. But a lot of big names wanted to start it. So I feel fortunate that we were able to do this.
Preeti, with the Sony deal almost done, there's also now time for you guys to also build up on this and get more sponsors. And one good thing about Panja is that there is a lot of competitiveness, but still no blood, which makes it slightly different from other combat sports that are out there, because people are still hesitant to see blood on screen. So talk to us about that. How do you think that people and the brands are going to react to this?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So why we didn't get into sport like MMA, although we already knew the entire MMA world, was because we feel that Indian audiences do shy away a little from a lot of blood. So it wouldn't be a family viewing sport. A lot of families would not sit together and watch a sport which has the element of blood in it. So with Panja, this is Parveen's line, but I'm going to say it to you, is like, पिटाई हो जाती है लेकिन खून नहीं निकलता. So So it's like you kind of get beaten, but there's no gross blooder or unnecessary violence. So I don't know if you can really call it a combat sport. It's not a slapping or it's not a sport that we don't want it to not to be considered flimsy or not really a sport, because it is. It has rules. We have referees. We have specific rules certified by the WAF, which is the World Arm Wrestling Federation, which is what we follow. So, it's a very, very popular sport in a lot of Eastern Europe countries. Of course, all over the world, in America as well, in Australia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, all of these countries, it has huge government support. So, which is what we're trying to do here also in India, because we have a huge pool of players. So, we're trying to go ahead and get that government support as well. So I don't think you can really call, sorry, to answer your question, I don't think you can really call Punjab a combat sport.
Preeti, can you tell us about the female athletes out there who are looking to make a career in Punjab?
So we have some fab female athletes. We have some personalities out there that are going to come out on Sony as well. So see, some of them are gym trainers. Some of our female athletes are working with the police in their respective states. Some of them are even just housewives. They are fantastic. You have to. One of our female athletes, I have to give you an example. We did an event at IIT Mumbai where we challenged them that you can have a competition amongst, we've got a table there amongst all your guys, and we will have, if your top five guys can beat our one female champ, then we have a cash prize involved. So they all tried. The top five guys of IIT Mumbai, and these are big guys, they tried to beat our female champ, but none of them could. This was a girl called Chetna Sharma, and she was featured on almost every newspaper at that time. I mean, you can just Google Chetna Sharma and you will see that. And she was for that. That it just goes to show that it's not just power and brute strength. There's a lot of technique involved as well. So we have some fantastic champs from Kerala as well. Jinsi Jose. We have some really good athletes, female athletes. We have Karishma Kapoor from Delhi. We have a lot of athletes.
Running a federation, of course, comes with its own share of challenges and responsibilities. How are you making sure that the rights of athletes are looked after and they are not, taken for granted and things are in their well-being also?
So I'll tell you the main thing, which what we are trying to do firstly is make sure that we are completely compliant with the federation rules and committees, which means we are putting in place a women's commission, an athletes commission, and all the other requirements that are government listed for a federation to receive recognition. And our main aim is to take it there, because especially since the sport has been played since so many years and the athletes are in the sport since so many years, I think it's very important that they now get the support. They're already receiving. I mean, we've already done a lot of para athlete tournaments with the Madhya Pradesh government as well. We've started that. We've managed to start that association with the government right now, and we are trying to do and planning to do a lot more para athlete events as well. And then, of course, to take it forward, we have to make sure that all the athletes' views and points are taken into consideration. Even we are doing our first national tournament, which is going to be from the 1st June to the 4th of June in Mathura. So during that tournament, we made sure that we're taking all the athletes' issues with the other earlier national tournaments into consideration, and making sure that all of those issues first are sorted out, and making sure a lot of things, like things are not starting on time. Athletes are, they're waiting to make weight, and they've not eaten all day, and the weigh-ins are not happening on time, and the athletes are not being looked after. They're nothing is put in place, and all that requires more than money is a little bit of planning, and somebody who cares. So we're trying to set up a team who does that. Of course, funds are required, which is what we are trying to bring into the game, which is coming in through probably the Pro Panja League is trying to generate also funds. We've been helping the federation with the Pro Panja League as well. But yeah, these are all the changes that we are trying to bring.
Preeti, what do you think are some of the things that women who are working in the sports industry can do to make sure that a lot more women start to, come up and work in the industry and the industry in itself becomes more gender neutral?
I don't know how to answer your question, because I think women are making their name now in every field. So there is no field that women cannot get into. There are certain places, of course, where I felt where I have was not taken seriously enough. Maybe because of the fact that they felt that I have been an actor, or been maybe because of the fact that I've been an actor, or maybe because of the fact that I'm female. But there have been places, of course, and there have been challenges. But I think every profession is going to come with its share of challenges for our country, which and in every profession which has often been so male dominated. And this is not just in India, even in the world of sport abroad. I have seen there are many forums for women in sport, women leaders even in sport, for this reason, because still a lot of women leaders face do feel frightened or not taken seriously enough. So this is something that needs to change the world over. This is a mindset that is still there, not just in India but the world over. So and I feel India is very progressive in that sense. And it's more progressive from a lot of other countries. Even technologically, I think we are so much further ahead than I think the Modi government has done a fantastic job in taking us technologically quite forward and quite ahead. And I think in terms of the mindset as well. So, though I have felt some resistance, I think overall it's been much, much better than I expected. And it's only going forward from here. It's only going forward from
Preeti, you have full-time work commitments, you have a personal life, you are a mother of two kids. How do you manage your time and how do you make sure that you are looking after yourself as well?
Yeah, I haven't applied my night cream for many days. So yes, no, I'm not looking after but yeah, so that's taken a complete backseat. Looking after my beauty needs is completely taken a backseat. But I do make sure that I try to make some time in terms of my workout regime, and it requires a pencil and a paper and a lot of planning. You have to organize and plan, and yes, my children need me as well, so I have to give some time to my home and family as well. There are times it gets very difficult, and there is a guilt factor involved, because you are sometimes even completely having to ignore my kids and their studies and their school, and that itself is a whole job. Any housewife will tell you that, because just looking after two kids and their schedules is a whole job in itself. So I kind of have a planner and a diary, and I try to do that. And as far as looking after myself or ignoring myself, I think if you're enjoying your work, that's half the battle won. And I think happiness shows on your face, and happiness is also a state of mind. You have to just not, I think most of us just whip ourselves over with the guilt of, oh, we are not being able to. But I think we also need to see the other side, where the children are seeing that my mother goes out and she works, and she needs to do that, and then we need to get more independent so we can help her. So I think it's helping my children to get more independent as well, and do their things by themselves, because as we know, mostly a lot of our kids in our houses are just very pampered, and everything is done for them. Everything is there for them on a platter. So I think it's much nicer, because they learn to get more independent. They learn to do their things on their own, and they learn to survive. They're not babies anymore. They're one of them is 7 and one of them is 12. So I think it's time that they learn to do things by themselves. Both are boys, so I have a larger responsibility. I need to make sure that they're able to do their own jobs by themselves and not dependent on somebody all the time, and they should take an equal share of the household along with their wives, because anything else and I would be supremely disappointed. So, and I do feel the weight of the responsibility of having two boys, and having to make sure that they treat every individual, male, female, or otherwise, equally. To treat everybody as a human being.
Preeti, where do you see PAFI and Pro Panja League in the next 10 years?
See, right now it's a lot of us. It's a lot of me and it's a lot of Parveen. So 10 years from now, I'm hoping that we are able to get a team also that cares, and to put together that team that can then take care of both properties individually. Because PAFI, of course, it's not something that one starts to make money. It's more for the welfare of the athletes and the sport, and to make sure that the sport progresses in terms of in the country as well. Of course, Pro Panja League is professional side of it, and again, we after 3 years we plan to get the foreign athletes, and we already having each team already has foreign coaches, foreign referees as well, so that we bring in that international standard to the game. And I think 10 years down the line, we have our international players as well. And that's again in just 2 and 3 years afterwards, we plan to introduce the foreign players as well. And hope to see it grow. I think 10 years down the line, I don't want to say anything to jinx it, but from what I see, I think arm wrestling has a fab future. So I see both properties really going the big way.
Preeti, a message for women out there who are looking to make a career in the world of sports.
Don't be disheartened by anybody saying anything. If sport is your passion, and if that particular sport that you're getting into is your passion, I think there's nothing or no one to stop you today. And I think you're in the perfect place and the perfect time to make your mark in the world of sport. And in case of anything, there are a lot of forums for females today. You just have to get out there and ask for help. There's a lot of ways that you can educate yourself. All I would say is that don't get into anything half-heartedly or not with your complete information on hand. You need to educate yourself so that you can prove to everybody that you are equal to everybody else in terms of you know everything that you're getting into. You know everything about the sport that you're getting into or about the administration of that sport. So there's nothing without hard work, whether it's male or female. I just want to put that across because you have to be ready to work hard, to read hard about the sport and the world of sport, and especially the world of sport administration. I think you can't get into it half-heartedly or with half knowledge, which is a lot of us tend to do in our laziness. So there is no halfway there. You have to be in for the whole hog.
Thank you so much, Preeti, for joining us today and for giving us your valuable time. All the very best with PAFI and the new season of Pro Panja League. Good luck.
Thank you, Akshata. It was lovely speaking with you. Thank you.